I'm on my way to interview an owner of an interesting car. I'm just on my way to have a bit of a chat with Geoff about his Nissan Skyline. It's a Targa Tasmania style rally car, so that should be a bit interesting. Now, he lives quite a distance away, so I'll see you then. I'm here talking to Geoff about this awesome Nissan Skyline. Or what some is this one called Godzilla, or is that generic to the earlier one?
Well, it's pretty well generic these days.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's have a talk about this thing. But before we do that, I think you have a long history with Skylines.
Yes. Yeah.
So, what was the first one?
I had a Nissan, it was a Princess Skyline GTB, 1964 model. I had it back in 1973.
1973.
That was the 2-litre model with the triple Webers.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a great car for its day.
For its day, yep. Now, that wouldn't have been a common car to go into. Your mates would have been like more than likely Ford or Holden. So what made you go, oh, I like that?
Well, it just came up. Well, to be frank, it's a long time ago now, and I had the opportunity to buy it, and it seemed like a good thing, and the price was right, you know, those sorts of things.
Yep.
And of course, back in those days, they were still relatively contemporary, and you could get bits for them and all that sort of thing. Not like today, of course.
Well, now Japanese cars, very hard.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a sort of poster on the bedroom wall.
No, it wasn't.
Or James Bond drove it or something like that.
No, I had that car for a couple of years. Its biggest claim to fame was using it as the course car for the 1975 Rothmans Walkerville 500, which I was director of it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I never used it. Never competition match to speak of.
Yeah. So the Skyline, so this one is because of that? Did you have others in the...
No. This one came about because my son and I were looking around for, as it happens, a 240Z.
Right.
And this one came up on, would you believe, on eBay.
Yep.
Down in Melbourne. And it was at the right price at the time.
Yep.
And we thought, well, why not? Let's go for that.
So was it a rally car then, or did you build it, or was it already built?
It had been set up as a circuit car.
Right.
It wasn't a rally car.
Yeah.
But it had the full cage in it and so forth. But we had to do a lot of work to actually make it suitable for tarmac rallies, which was its ultimate fate.
Yeah. Now, before you rallied this, you rallied a big, V12, Jaguar?
Yeah, I had a 1985 Jaguar XJS V12 with a 6-litre motor in it.
Yep.
And we rallied that in a couple of Targa Tasmanias and Targa High Countries and so forth.
Now, I would have thought going from a old school rear-wheel drive, no help, to a 4-wheel drive, all singing, all dancing thing of technology. As a driver, how did you go from that? Was it something you just no worries, or did it take you a while?
Well, this is an incredibly stable, easy to drive motor car.
Yeah.
And although there is a certain amount of computer control and so forth, it's got 3 times the amount of power.
Yeah.
The brakes are incredibly good. In the wet and so forth, it's incredibly stable. It's a really safe car to drive, frankly.
Yeah.
You'd have to be something pretty stupid to mess it up.
Right. So maybe the driving older cars helped.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, the Jag was a bit prone to understeer.
Yeah.
If you put too much power on, you get oversteer.
Yeah.
But having driven in rallies for the best part of 50 years, you've got a vague idea what you're doing.
Yeah. So these four-wheel drive cars, watching some as a spectator only, I've never driven one in competition. They seem to have a tendency to understeer. There seems to be a lot of lock on dirt road stuff.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's because they're understeering or because they're driving like a front-wheel drive car to pull it round or whatever.
Well, this is an R33 95 model. The R32s had a more of an understeering characteristic.
Right.
But they are all a bit prone to understeer if you're not driving it properly.
Yeah, as you get older and wiser, I find I drive so much better than I did 30 years ago. You watch some in-car video of me, and it's embarrassing to watch it. I'm slower now, but it's far more relaxed and everything's sort of just happening, you know. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this thing. Now, it's an inline six-cylinder.
Yes, it's a 2.6 litre inline six twin overhead cam, twin turbo, four-wheel steer, and it's a pretty advanced specification for its time.
Yeah. So, is all that stuff controlled by like a computer that would have sent them to the moon type of thing? Or?
There is, there's a couple of computers. There's one which controls the brakes and four-wheel drive system.
Right.
And that's mounted in the sensor console, and basically once it detects that you're getting rear wheel slippage, it will engage the front wheel drive up to a maximum of 50%.
Right.
Most of the time it's rear wheel drive.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So if you get into a corner and you can, well, in this particular car, the way it's set up, the front end will start shuddering because you can feel it understeering.
Yeah.
And that's when you put the boot in.
Right.
And the back comes out and the front wheel drive cuts in.
Yep.
So consequently, it's incredibly predictable.
Yeah. Right.
But that's that side of things. They do have an engine management system, but that's long gone. The standard one.
Yeah.
This has currently got the latest and greatest Motec.
Yeah. And that controls everything the engine's
doing. It does
doing.
control everything. It's incredibly advanced. So, for example, if the car starts to overheat, it will do things like turn the air conditioning off.
Right.
It'll cut the power.
Yeah.
And so forth. And incidentally, air conditioning is still operative in this car, because if you've ever been in a tarmac rally car on a hot day, particularly on the transport stages, it's really unpleasant. Yep. So, yes, I could cut weight out of it, but hey, at the end of the day, I'm a midfield runner.
Yeah.
I'm not up at the pointy end, and frankly, I prefer the comfort.
Yeah, I must admit I do that too. Yeah. So, okay. It's also a beautiful looking thing, which is nice. I think as they went on, I think the later ones I didn't quite fancy, but...
The R34s are a bit more chunky.
Yeah.
And of course the R35 is a utterly different car completely. But the R32 is a shorter wheelbase.
Right.
This has got 100mm more in the wheelbase.
Right.
And then the R34s I think are about the same, but R34s now are fetching stupid money.
Yeah.
And in terms of the numbers built, there was roughly 30-odd thousand R32s built, something in the vicinity of 15 to 18,000 of these built, and then probably about 12,000 R34s. Of course, those numbers are a total guess, but you get the general idea of the proportion.
Yeah. Now, I remember reading a review of a road car, you know, one of the things, and the journalist described it as brutal in terms of the amount of power and just grip and.
Sure.
So compared to the Jag, you know, like taking off from the start thing, you know, this thing's going to be considerably different to what the Jag would do.
Yes.
So this is what sits you back in the seat. And
well, yeah, the acceleration rate is quite phenomenal for the car, but of course it's not quite like something like the Jag, which had a 6-litre motor which naturally aspirated. This is the turbo, and things have sort of got to get into their stride.
Yeah.
I've always been fairly careful how I take off.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to break things.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, rallying's all about reliability.
Yeah.
So they have an extremely strong rear diff, but the front diff is not quite so strong.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone's broken one, but nonetheless, all the power when you take off goes to the rear, and away you go. But as I say, if you spin the wheels, the front wheel drive will start to
take over. Yeah. So I can't imagine driving. I know from a spectator's point of view, when you watch Subarus and Evos and what have you, they don't have that. They don't sound like they're about to detonate and fly apart. When the Ford Escort comes along with a Datsun 1600, the feeling you get is this thing's going to blow up at any second. Where the more modern cars, even though they're doing it, they don't sound like it, if you know what I mean.
No, well, this has got a huge exhaust system on it, like it's 4-inch diameter pipe. But the turbos actually muffle the sound. Yeah. So you can hear it all right, no question of that, but it's nothing like a conventionally aspirated car, you see. Yeah. With the conventionally aspirated car, you get a lot of noise from the carburation,
you get induction noise.
Whatever, induction noise, and the exhaust. Whereas with this, the turbos tend to make things a lot quieter, so it's more of a whoosh than a great bark.
So these got different size turbos? Like some cars, like they got a big one and a little one, sort of thing.
No, not in this case.
Right.
These work together.
Right. Right.
So they're two smaller turbos.
Yeah. Rather
than what's popular now is to have one great big one.
Big one, yeah.
Yeah, that's much more fashionable, and frankly, you get more power that way.
Now, from a standpoint of working on it, a Jaguar is nuts and bolts and logic. Yep. And I'm sure that like the things like brakes and suspension components are nuts and bolts and undo them. But anything to do with the engine and the electronics and everything would be a matter of give it to somebody?
Yes, in this case I usually take it down to Phil Armour at Armour Motorsport. He's put the Motec in it. But essentially, if there's something wrong with it, you've got to plug it into the diagnostics and find out what the problem is. Yeah. I can do the simple mechanical stuff. Yeah. Like, you know, replace radiator hoses or maybe the radiator or whatever. And like you said, brakes and suspension, but not the motor.
No, it's. I can't get my head around the whole thing really. Yeah, I can work a computer, but I don't know how they work.
Sure.
And that's a horrible thing to say when you're a driver, because you should know how it all works.
Well, you've really got to be right across all of that stuff to be competent, and I don't claim to do that. So I leave it to people who know what they're doing.
Yeah. Now, cars seem to sort of get under your skin a little bit, and some cars you'll own till you die because they've been part of your life experience. So if it's a rally car, it's all that motorsport you've done. If it's a road car, it might be some adventure in the back seat at a drive-in. But how does this fall into your keep it till you die, or is it just for the motorsport?
Well, you might recall that I originally bought it in conjunction with my son. Yeah. We were planning to jointly use it, but he shoved off to the USA and his work, and I bought him out. So consequently, I finished up with the car.
Yeah.
And I've run it in, I don't know, probably the best part of 20 tarmac events.
Yeah.
And that's been my major thing. But look, I guess it's fair to say that everything has its time. And
yeah.
what I'm planning, well, there has been a big change now in the tarmac rally rules.
Right.
And of course I'm not getting any younger, so I am planning in the next 2 years to return this to a road spec.
Right.
And that means taking up the roll cage,
Right.
changing the suspension.
Yeah.
So it'll be quite an exciting road car.
Yeah.
But that's probably it's going to be its fate.
Yeah.
And I won't keep it forever.
Well, having with not many of them in existence, keeping it alive is a good thing to do, if that means taking it back to a road car. You know, because it's a bit of a shame when, you know, I've got a Toyota Celica that may well fade into existence because of electrical gremlins, and that seems a shame because it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, and with the changing, all the rules change all the time. I've got an obsolete rally car that can't be rallied anymore, not without putting new roll cages and all the hoo-ha. So
yes,
that happens.
And that's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap.
Well, they're starting to talk about putting foam in the doors on these cars,
Right.
to give you some side intrusion protection.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a great idea, but this has got frameless windows.
Yeah.
So what's supposed to happen with the glass?
Window, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is not set in concrete. This is just one of the proposals,
Yeah.
but there's a whole series of things that have arisen as a consequence of the unfortunate deaths on Targa Tasmania and such like.
Yeah.
And there's been a whole series of proposals come up
Yeah.
as to how to make events safer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the complexion of these events is going to change enormously.
Yeah, you can't judge the current world in my terms or even my father's terms, because you look at old video of rallies and things, and you sort of think, oh, look at the health and safety going on there. But at the time it was, yeah, no worries.
Well, this car, you've been talking about the Jag. Well, this car's twice as fast.
Yeah, yeah.
And although I should say more reliable too.
Yeah.
But consequently, if the bloody thing breaks, it's very expensive.
Yeah. So how has it been in all those events? Has there been any major problems?
Yes, I've run the bearings when the oil pump failed, which is a problem on some of these.
Right.
And effectively, it's got a new engine from the head through to the sump.
Right, right.
We had to replace the block,
Really?
the rods, the crank, you name it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it fed metal through the bloody thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's actually got a what they call a stroker crank in it now. It's actually fractionally bigger.
Right.
It's 2.75 litres, which is still okay under the rules, but it doesn't make a huge amount of difference.
Yeah. Now, an awful lot of rally drivers don't entirely tell the truth when I ask them this.
Sure,
any off-road experiences? Have we sort of clipped a little white post or something here and there?
I had a problem at Wakefield Park on a sprint when I had a complete brake failure, and I went into the wall sideways. Didn't do a huge amount of damage, fortunately. But the problem was the brake booster. What was the piston in there that was poking out further than what it should have.
Right.
Consequently, the brakes were rubbing, and we hadn't realised it, but in fact they were binding.
Yeah, yeah.
So consequently, they overheated, and I came into the hairpin before the start of the main straight.
Oh, I know that corner well.
The foot went to the floor.
Yeah.
That was no fun.
No.
Anyway, the as I say, fortunately I managed to track it sideways. We went into the tyre barrier sideways,
Yeah.
but it didn't do the panels on that side a lot of good.
Yeah.
But as you can see, it's all been sorted out perfectly.
Well, thanks very much for that little chat about this Nissan Skyline.
No worries, mate.
I'm Quack McBallard. Bye for now.